What's up? Today we're gonna talk about a new way to make clarified milk punches. And before anyone goes in the comments saying like, what the hell dude, not another clarified cocktail, is that all mixologists can make nowadays? Hold up. Today's video is about a new technique that's actually gonna change a lot of things. Most importantly, it's gonna allow us to clarify pretty much any cocktail or to milk wash any spirit without any acidity, which I believe is groundbreaking. It's gonna open up a whole world of new possibilities. So we're gonna talk about that today, and of course we're gonna put this to test in a special fashion. So if you guys are ready, let's go. Okay, so clarified milk punches have been around for centuries now, and the main reason why people were making them in the first place was to smoothen the rough edges of the poorly distilled spirit and also to extend drastically the shelf life of their batch cocktails. But now with the big moment clarified cocktails are having, we discovered plenty new applications to the process. Amongst them, there's the fact that we can use this technique to impart the flavor of an ingredient in a cocktail that would otherwise leave a very weird and unpleasant mouthfeel and look to the cocktail, like miso, ground herbs, bread, stuff like that. Until now, we had to use a little bit of acidity to most of the citrus-free cocktails in order to use this technique, because it's the acidity that kickstarts the curdling process of the milk, and it's the curds that traps all what we don't want in our drinks. While the level of acidity doesn't have to be high to achieve the clarification, not having to use any is much easier and better, and someone recently discovered that we could do that with powdered milk instead. Daniel Villa is the one to thank for this new technique, so I'll leave a link in the description to his Instagram account and also to an article from punchdrink.com if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about how he discovered this new hack. But basically what's happening is while the drying process, milk molecules have already been broken down. So even after being rehydrated, you don't need any acidity to separate them again, especially if you throw some alcohol in there. So that makes of the powdered milk the perfect ingredient to milk wash spirit forward cocktails. But the applications for this technique doesn't stop there. Because the milk is dehydrated, you can easily cook it to change its flavor profile. Toasting the powdered milk before rehydrating it will give it a brown butter flavor, kind of like unsweetened light dulce de leche, and it's fantastic. Vila says you can also use dehydrated coconut milk. That sounds great. I haven't tried it yet, but believe me, when I will find some dehydrated coconut milk, I will give it a try and most definitely share my thoughts here as well. So I think we're ready to make the cocktail now, so let's do it, and make sure to stay till the end because I'm gonna share along the way some discoveries that I've made throughout my experimentations that will prevent you from failing like I did. Because yep, I failed big time when I thought I knew all there is to know about milk washing. We're always learning. So aside from whole powdered milk, for my cocktail, if you want to give it a try, you're gonna need aged rum, Spanish brandy, Pedro Jimenez sherry, Angostura bitters and Angostura cacao bitters, and simple syrup. But before we start, we need to cook our powdered milk. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna preheat our oven at 275 Fahrenheit or 130 Celsius. And then in a baking sheet covered with parchment paper, we're gonna spread some powdered milk. Then you simply place this in the oven and keep an eye on it because depending on yours, the time can vary quite widely. The key is to wait until the color changes slightly, and when you start getting some beautiful brown butter aroma, that's your cue to take it out of the oven. Then the next step is to rehydrate the milk, and that's when I failed the first time. That's when I made my first discovery. When I made the milk the first time, I followed exactly the recipe from punchdrink.com's article, and my brand's recipe is actually quite different. So I ended up with a milk that was way fatter than necessary, and that kind of ruined my milk punch batch. So I highly recommend you follow your brand's recipe rather than the one provided on the website, because otherwise you can end up with a milk that's going to be either too light or too rich. That can really impact your result. So that's my tip number one. But still, for everyone, the goal is going to be to rehydrate the milk with some hot water, to whisk it, to mix these ingredients together, and then you let it cool down before using it. If you make toasted milk, you will see it's gonna separate quite fast, but don't worry, That's normal, and it's actually kind of helping for the clarification process. All you have to do is to whisk it again just before using it. I would also like to point out that I failed a second time testing this technique. Initially, I wanted to make a speculoos cookie old-fashioned clarified with toasted milk. I thought the cookies would go so well with the brown butter aroma of the toasted milk, but unfortunately I was able to clarify this cocktail only one time out of the 3 batches that I've tried. I don't know why it worked one time and not the other ones. I talked with Danielle a little bit about that, and we came to the conclusion that it's probably due to the fact that there's one ingredient in the commercial cookies and interacted with the broken down molecules of the powdered milk, emulsifying the whole thing, preventing it to separate one more time after the emulsification. So it may be that, maybe not, we don't really know for sure, but what we know for sure is it's a new technique, so there's yet discoveries to be made. I know for a fact that it works perfectly with lower proof cocktail, high proof spirit, with or without acidity, but if you use funky stuff like I did, it may not work. So keep that in mind. That being said, I still came up with a tasty recipe. Today we're gonna make a double serving. What you're gonna need is first, in your mixing glass, 3 ounces of your chosen aged rum, 1 ounce of Spanish brandy, half an ounce of Pedro Jimenez, half an ounce of simple syrup, and 4 dashes of each Angostura bitters and Angostura cacao bitters. I'm using Japanese dasher bottles here, so I'm doubling up the amount. Then in another container, you're gonna add 1.5 ounces of your toasted milk. Don't forget to whisk it again before using it, and pour your cocktail over the milk. Leave it resting like this at room temperature for 5 to 10 minutes, giving some time for the curdling process to happen. That's just gonna make the filtration process much easier. After 5 to 10 minutes, you can pour your mixture through a rinse coffee filter or a few layers of cheesecloth. The first couple of drops will be cloudy, but that's normal. It's always like that. You need to leave some time for the curds to settle at the bottom of your filter in order to get a perfect filtration. So wait until the liquid is dripping clear, then you're gonna switch vessel, re-pour your cloudy liquid over the unfiltered mixture, place that back one more time over a clean jar, and wait. Once the filtration is done, you can bottle it up, and that's going to be shelf stable both at room temperature or in the fridge. I personally like to keep it in the fridge because it's going to be cold whenever I'm going to be thirsty. Once you are, simply pour 3 ounces of it in your mixing glass, fill it up with ice, and give it a brief stir, really shorter than usual because that doesn't need a lot of dilution. Then we're gonna pour that over a big block of clear ice. That one doesn't need no garnish, but a couple of cookies on the side will go really well with it. So there you have it, my first toasted milk old-fashioned. Cheers. It's incredible how smooth an old-fashioned becomes after it's been milk washed, and in this case we really get some beautiful brown butter aroma from the toasted powdered milk. Really makes a huge difference. Then for the mouthfeel, like for pretty much all milk wash cocktail, it's velvety and I love it. The burnt of the alcohol is gone. Really, I think it's a beautiful drink and it's a technique that's really worth trying. Can't wait to experiment more. I can't wait for you to try it. And if you do, please tag me on Instagram. I'm always happy to see what you guys are doing. So my friends, this is it for me today. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Turn that bell if you want to make sure not to miss the next video. Until then, thank you very much again. Have a great day and see you very soon. Cheers. Hmm.